everyone, my name is Elsie Tellier. I'm a senior at Harvard College and I have cystic fibrosis. Today I'm going to be talking to you about 5 Feet Apart, a film which features cystic fibrosis as a major plot point in the way it's been discussed on social media, both prior to and following its release. I won't be giving a plot summary of the film since I'm focusing mostly on the social media side, so if you want to know more, please feel free to Google the film and read its plot summary. Please excuse me if I'm looking to my right. I have notes to make sure I don't miss anything, and I'll be dividing this video into 2 major halves. So without further ado, let's talk about the first half, which is social media's marketing, how the 5 Feet Apart team used social media to sell the film. So the stated position of the filmmakers towards the CF community is that this film is quote-unquote meant for CFers, and that this film will raise awareness for a rare disease. But their hope of quote-unquote awareness remains nebulous and remains generally undefined throughout their process of marketing. The director Justin Baldoni has openly said in his interview with Extra TV that his goal for the film, and that when he set out to make this film, his quote original hope was that he wanted audiences to leave with an appreciation for life, end quote. Baldoni's goals for the film were about inspiring viewers, not raising awareness for CF. The marketing team, throughout the process of their social media marketing, revealed a clear lack of knowledge and respect for people with cystic fibrosis. Their marketing attempts focused on using social media accounts including Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. The key audience for this film appeared to be young teenage girls, and that is the demographic that the marketing team geared their advertisements towards. In an effort to reach this population, the 5 Feet Apart team created an advertising campaign which recruited 6 Instagram influencers: Bailey Madison, Annie LeBlanc, Jaden Bartles, Lily Chi, Brooke Butler, and Alan Stokes. So who are these people? Let's look a little bit at their range of influence. So Bailey Madison is a teen actress. Annie LeBlanc is a popular YouTuber with over 3 million subscribers. Jaden Bartles is another teen influencer with almost 3 million Instagram followers. Lily Chi is a teen with almost 1 million followers. Brooke Butler is again another teen with a million Insta followers. And Alan Stokes is one half of a twin duo that has a YouTube following of 1.5 million subscribers. 5 out of the 6 influencers are teenage girls, and 1 is a teenage boy. All of them according to YouTube analytics, and appear to have teenage followings as well. This campaign was short-lived after receiving backlash from multiple CFers, including myself, who considered the content and tone of this marketing campaign to be offensive. But why did these ads receive backlash? Well, these posts directly related the experience of having cystic fibrosis to the experience of being in a long-distance relationship from somebody that you love. For example, the post by Annie LeBlanc says, quote, #ad, thinking of my cousin Paige today, similar to the new movie 5 Feet Apart. She's always been there for me even though we're separated by a distance. She lives in a different state, but is always only a phone call away. She has always been somebody who has taught me about compassion and being patient with others. Tag someone in the comments below who you might not be near to, but will always have close to your heart. For each person tagged on any partner's posts, $1 will be donated to cystic fibrosis research, up to 5K, #5 Feet Apart, #love conquers all, end quote. The message of this marketing attempt is that illness is somehow inherently unpalatable. Illness is unpalatable, and the only way to make it palatable for a healthy, able-bodied audience is to make it quote-unquote relatable. But terminal illness is not relatable. You cannot relate to the experience of CF if you do not have it. Not only is terminal illness unrelatable, but the concept of being in a long-distance relationship from people you're close with is not even similar, remotely similar to the experience that CFers have with their CF friends who they cannot be close to, much less other aspects of our illness. If your loved one is in another state, that really sucks, but you can physically meet up. You do not risk killing each other by being close the way that CFers do because of the risk of cross-infecting serious illnesses and bacteria that could kill us. Other than the post, there was also a video from ATTN which compared the experience of being in a military family to the experience of having CF, which doesn't do justice to either the experience of being in a military family or having CF. Aubrey Kostelek said in response to the ad campaign during her appearance on the 71st episode of Breathe In, a cystic fibrosis podcast, that, quote, when you take something that's supposed to be for awareness and for us as the CF community, and then a week before the movie comes out, you start making these frantic attempts to like push the movie because maybe the projections weren't very good for it or something. So you're backtracking on your cause, you're broadening your focus so that everyone can relate. When the thing with CF is that most people don't relate. That's why it's a rare disease. Everyone can't relate to it unless you're making reaches, and when you're making these reaches to make everyone feel included, you're really just slashing your whole awareness thing, and that's bad. You don't have to relate, you just have to listen and try to understand. End quote. The filmmakers and the PR team in creating this ad campaign seem to believe that CF is not interesting or relatable enough for a mainly young, healthy audience. Why would anyone care about a terminal illness if it's not directly relatable to their lives? Zenobia Frost writes that, quote, "It shouldn't be a hard-won revelation that stories don't have to be universal to have value or to elicit an emotional reaction from the audience. An insistence on universality generalizes characters' experiences, makes them safe and agreeable to privileged audiences that might feel threatened or bored by their lack of representation in the film." End quote. Following the deletion of this controversial ad campaign, the team released no official statement or apology, but soon after released a new social media campaign using the voices of some CFers. In an Instagram post, Justin Baldoni states that, quote-unquote, amplifying the voices of these CFers through unpaid advertisements was what the late Claire Winefield would want, and that if viewers are inspired by these posts, they should donate to the CF Foundation. They recruited 10 CF Instagrammers to share the same video and message on their accounts. As none of these posts are listed as being as a hashtag ad or a post that is in partnership with, I'm going to infer that unlike the previous influencer posts, which did include these markers, that the CFers used by the marketing team were not being paid. One of these posters, long story short, also included the hashtag not sponsored, which further leads to my conclusion that this specific campaign was unpaid. The post, which will be linked below, highlights how, quote, "This will be the first time that CF has ever had representation as a plotline in a major motion picture. It has been such an incredible platform that has encouraged individuals, old and new, to the community to learn more, educate others, raise funds, and connect with more empathy. Since the launch of 5 Feet Apart, the 5 Feet Apart marketing campaign, cystic fibrosis mentions increased by 113%. We hope as these numbers grow, the race towards a cure will as well." The essential message of this advertisement is that awareness for CF has already been raised because of this film and will continue to be raised, and so you should support it. I would assume that the creators of this ad used Google Trends to calculate their 113 percentage, but they never say where their numbers come from, so I just have to assume. Cite your sources, y'all. I can't make any claims based on uncited sources. And although some of these CFers did end up being recruited to make paid advertisements after the movie's release, it still stands that their initial labor was not rewarded in the same way it was for the teenage healthy influencers before. Whether or not these posters felt that their work was being exploited, in fandom studies essays, such as the one by Bertha, it's posited that many rewards, such as quote-unquote status and recognition, can be just as valuable as monetary rewards for some people. It is still true that there was a discrepancy in the way that the marketing team treated their disabled influencers as compared to their healthy influencers. So that was how the film was handled by its marketing team on social media prior to release. Even before the film came out, opinions among CFers on social media were divided. While some believed that the film had bad messages, others were hopeful that no matter the content of the film, it would raise awareness. But what happened after the film came out? Did 5 Feet Apart live up to its promises of awareness? Let's look at it. Let's look at social media responses from healthy people. Has 5 Feet Apart lived up to its goal of awareness? In order to have a better understanding of how viewers, and in particular viewers without CF, responded to the film, I systematically looked through and coded social media posts. I focused on 3 major platforms: Twitter, Tumblr, and Instagram. And after initial scanning, I decided to code social media posts into 5 categories within my coding scheme. The first of these were posts which focused primarily on a product of fandom, such as fan art, fanvids, or fanfic. Second were posts which focus on the actual actors of the film, such as posts about their appearance or acting ability. The third were posts which were primarily about an individual's negative emotional response to the film. Without exception, all emotional responses to the film were focused on how much someone cried or how sad someone was, so they were coded under negative emotional responses. The fourth were posts which discussed the inspirational parts of the film, or how an individual was in some way inspired by the messaging of the film. And fifth and final were posts which in some way discussed activism or awareness for CF. I tried to be as generous as possible with this element, and included posts which discuss how much someone potentially learned about CF from the film or any form of CF activism. I'm going to go through the results of my data analysis platform by platform, and I'll start with Twitter. So on Twitter, I looked at 631 tweets by searching 5 feet apart and looking at posts which either contain that phrase or the hashtag 5 feet apart. 49 of those tweets were about fandom content, 100 were about the actors, 348 were about negative emotional responses, 106 were about inspiration, and 28 were about awareness/activism. 26 of those 28 tweets were written by CFers, the other 2 written by non-CFers. I'm going to show you some examples. I don't have time, I don't want to make this video really long, so I don't have the time to show you every single tweet or other social media post I looked at. I'll give you a few examples here in the video, and we'll share more in a blog post in the link down below so you can look at what I saw and how I coded some of these social media posts. This tweet was coded under negative emotional response. I just saw 5 feet apart. No one touched me. I'm emotionally unstable. And features a meme image from The Office saying, "Do you think that making me cry is cool?" and a meme image of a crying Kermit. This tweet was coded under inspiration. In case you forget how blessed you are to be healthy and alive, please watch hashtag 5 feet apart. What a beautiful and powerful movie. Felicidades at Justin Baldoni, clapping emoji. This tweet was written by a CFer and coded under awareness. Hi at Kim Kardashian. I noticed you were watching at 5 feet apart. In the UK, we are having issues with the government on approving life-saving drugs for people with cystic fibrosis on our NHS. Can you help? Please share this petition, hashtag 5 feet apart. This tweet was coded under negative emotional response, but could also be considered inspiration. The original tweet says, "We talked for over an hour in the car and still text about it. Look at my crying after look. Okay emoji, broken heart emoji at 5 feet apart at Justin Baldoni," and features a screenshot of conversation talking about how much they were inspired by the movie and images of the original poster after crying. This post was quote retweeted by Justin Baldoni saying, This was my wish for the audience. You just made my night. Wow. Crying emoji, red heart emoji. Thank you. Hashtag 5 feet apart." So those were some of the posts I saw on Twitter. Aside from Twitter, I also looked at Tumblr. On Tumblr, I looked at a total of 539 posts, 16 of which were about fandom content, 426 were about the actors themselves, 71 were about negative emotional responses, 20 were about inspiration, and 6 were about awareness, 4 of which were written by CFers, 2 of which were written by non-CFers. So let's look at a few examples. More, again, will be in a blog post linked below. This Tumblr post was coded under negative emotional response. Have y'all seen 5 feet apart? It's so sad. I'm so sad. Everything and everyone is sad. This Tumblr post was coded under inspiration. 5 feet apart was a really beautiful movie. It was so entertaining and emotional, but most of all you walk away with such an appreciation for life and for your loved ones and for the world. Appreciate what you have because life is hard and we're all just trying our best. This Tumblr post was coded under awareness. Just finished watching 5 feet apart for the 3rd time in less than a week. It's just so beautiful and I can't stop thinking about it. I really didn't know much about CF before the movie, and now I know a little more of it. To anyone affected by cystic fibrosis, you're effing warriors. I can't even imagine what it feels like going through something like this day in and day out. You are real heroes. Purple heart emoji. Also bravo to Haley Lou Richardson and Cole Sprouse. So those are the posts I looked at on Tumblr. Now, for the final platform I looked at Instagram. On Instagram, I looked at 690 posts. 158 were about fandom content, 503 were about the actors themselves, 4 were about negative emotional responses, 5 were about inspiration, and 20 were about awareness, all 20 of which were written by CFers themselves. So let's look at a few examples. This post is coded as actor. It is an image of Cole Sprouse and is captioned, "In love, heart eye emoji, follow for more Cole Sprouse." This post was coded as awareness and is a picture of 2 CFers in masks staying more than 6 feet apart and is captioned, "Just two Stellas, not breaking any rules," crying laughing emoji. Cystic fibrosis is an incredibly lonely disease, but this day was a little less lonely. My sister at CF Challenger was also getting a tune-up at the same time. It's nice to be able to have someone to vent to, or just chat with, or go on hallway walks with, and be able to talk to her in person. People often take for granted the simple pleasure of having a conversation in person. So be glad you can hug your friends and loved ones. Be glad your lungs work and you can breathe. Be thankful for the simple moments in life. I know that I am. Shooting star emoji. So those are the 3 platforms I looked at. Most of the posts were not about awareness. The majority of the posts across all 3 of the platforms were about the actors themselves, followed by fandom-created content and negative emotional responses, with others talking about inspiration, and only the smallest amount talking about awareness, with the majority of the posts talking about awareness coming from CFers themselves. And I think a large part of that is that 5 Feet Apart fails to follow the essential disability rights mantra of nothing about us without us, and it shows. While I'm not going to condemn CFers who've taken comfort in the film and book, it seems quite clear to me that the filmmakers and actors involved have had an extremely superficial and at times ableist understanding of CF. The inspiration posts that became common when in my search made sense to me based on the content of the film and the way in which the film pushed the universality of having an illness and the way in which it can be inspiring for non-CF viewers. Stella Young, a disabled activist, coined the term inspiration porn, in which she talks about how inspiration porn is when someone objectifies one group of people for the benefit of another group of people. In this case, we're objectifying disabled people for the benefit of non-disabled people. The purpose of these types of images is to inspire you, to motivate you, so that we can look at them and think, well, however bad my life is, it could be worse, I could be that person. This movie wasn't made to bring awareness. It was made to make people cry about the tragedy of the main character's failed romance. Even if awareness was the sincere goal of the filmmakers, they failed to create meaningful dialogue about terminal illness from the outset, when they chose to create a story that is about 2 teenagers hurting each other for the sake of quote-unquote romance. This film's narrative is meant to inspire viewers, healthy viewers, to live their lives to the fullest, more than it is about encouraging viewers to help advocate for CF care. And this position has been reinforced by the comments and actions taken by the filmmakers during their marketing campaign. And this shows in how people post and talk about the film. People are not focused on the awareness aspect. People are focused on the ways in which this film has made them cry, the ways in which it has inspired them, or entirely separate from that, about the film itself as a piece of media ripe for fandom creation, or about the actors themselves. In an interview with People magazine, Baldoni stated that he wants people to feel something else and reconnect with their hearts. And based on the reactions to the film, he's seen so far that, quote, people are reacting in a way he hoped they would, and feeling very connected to the characters or seeing themselves in a part of the journey or wanting to call somebody they love, end quote. While studies such as the one done by Lenardi and Mayer suggest that ambient awareness may help encourage further knowledge attainment, this does not mean that simple awareness will translate directly into action. The CFR-based advertisement campaign created by the 5 Feet Apart team imply that there is a direct correlation between awareness of CF and the likelihood of a cure for CF being found. In this implication is the implicit understanding that since the 5 Feet Apart film will raise awareness, that it will contribute positively to the lives of CFers and is thus laudable by its mere existence as a film. But it's hard to say whether or not awareness truly has been raised. The comments made by people on social media show more about their interaction with the film as a piece of media and their desires to share this with their friends and fellow followers, rather than it does about them receiving a piece of concerning media that then encourages them to raise activism. It's important to question how we use social media as a way of raising awareness and whether or not this is meaningful when we simply mention the name of something. Is it awareness that people know of CF, that it exists, that it is a concept, nebulous concept out in the universe, or does it matter that they use social media in a way that continues to spread that nebulous awareness and create activism? How much can we understand from the ways in which people react on social media to the ways that they understand this disease? It's up to you guys to decide. I hope you guys guys enjoyed my video. Hopefully that was helpful. Please feel free to comment, ask questions below if I wasn't clear. I tried to make this pretty short. I'll explain more in the blog post that I've shared below. Thank you so much and have a great day. Bye guys.